Okay, I wanted to go over a few things with citations to help you out as you revise your papers or work on future papers. First, let's take a look at this works cited page that I've provided here. As you can see, it's using a hanging indent, and it is also alphabetized by the first element of the works cited citation. Another thing I wanted to point out that this is an 8th edition MLA, and which looks quite a bit different from the older 7th version of MLA. You need to make sure that you are using the most current version of MLA as you write your papers. So in New MLA, this first one here is an article from the Huffington Post Online, and I have the author's last name, comma, first name, period. The article title is in quotation marks, and then using the new terminology, you have the container or where the article was found. In this case, that's the Huffington Post, which is italicized, a comma, the date, the article was published, a comma, followed by the URL. This next source is an article in a scholarly journal that I found through KCC's databases. It follows a quite similar pattern. You have the author's last name, comma, first name. In this case, there were two authors, so the two authors are connected by an and. You'll notice only the first author's name is inverted. Then you have the article title, again in quotation marks, the container, or where the article was found, which is the Sociology of Education journal, which is in italics. We have the volume, the number, the date, and then the page numbers that that article was found on, followed by a period. What comes after is the second container, or where the journal was found, which I found it through JSTOR, and then this is the URL for the exact article. The final citation that I have on this page is an article in the Washington Post. Similar to the first one, which is part of the Huffington Post, you've got the author, the article title, the name of the container, the date that it was published, in the URL. For many of you, if you are using a citation generator, it will double the Washington Post or the Huffington Post. Please do not do this. You only need to list the container once. Another problem that we're having with citation generators currently is that they're wanting to put the date of access at the end of each citation, and we do not need that in New MLA. Okay, that's a quick overview of the works cited page, and now I want to talk about how you use the works cited page to create your parenthetical citations. First and foremost, you absolutely must have the first element of the works cited citation either in a signal phrase or in the parenthetical citation. The first element of the works cited citation is the first word. In our cases here, we have Banks, Canada, and Paquette. So when I cite information or when I use information from these sources, I have to have the author's last name either in the signal phrase or in the parenthetical citation. Assuming I did not have an author for this first one, then my citation would start with gender bias in the classroom, which would mean that I would need gender bias, a shortened title, either in the signal phrase or in a parenthetical citation. Let's look at an example. Let's look at this second one first, right here. So the sentence says, Catherine Canada and Richard Pringle attribute this difference to the level of intimacy inspired by female professors that is not as evident in male-led classrooms. Notice that I have the first element of the works cited citation, Canada, in the signal phrase, and hence I do not need it in the parenthetical citation. I do, however, need the page number in the parenthetical citation. Because I have page numbers in my works cited citation, listed right here, I know that I have page numbers attached to this particular article, and hence I use those page numbers in my parenthetical citations. Contrarily, Paquette, Daniel Paquette, the Washington Post does not have page numbers. So when I use the information from that particular source in my paper, there will be no page numbers attached. You don't want to assign arbitrary page numbers. If you don't have a page number, you just don't use one. You don't insert the number 1 as a sort of placeholder. So this sentence right here says this difference could also be a matter of social ideology, suggesting that men are smarter than women, providing the men in the classroom the confidence necessary to speak out whenever, wherever. Then, of course, I have my parenthetical citation, which is the first element of my citation, inside parentheses. I also want to note here that if you look at all of my citations, the period goes outside the parenthetical citation. It does not go before the parenthetical, nor does it go inside the parenthetical. Okay, now to this top example right here, which I want to pay special attention to, as it is an example of multiple sentence paraphrase. Sometimes when you're paraphrasing information from a source, it takes more than one sentence to do so. Instead of putting a parenthetical citation at the end of every single sentence, what you do is you bookend the multiple sentence paraphrase, meaning you use a signal phrase at the very beginning of the multi-sentence paraphrase, and then you use a parenthetical citation at the very end of the multiple sentence paraphrase. Now in this example, I only have 2 sentences, but this can also work for 3, 4 sentence, multiple sentence paraphrase, or even longer if you're writing a longer paper. In this particular one, I've chosen to use the article title in my signal phrase, and then of course the author's last name in my parenthetical citation, because again, the first element, banks, of the works cited citation must be either in the signal phrase or the parenthetical. Now I could have said, according to Kate Banks, female students tend to speak more in a classroom led by a female professor. Male students, on the other hand, showed no difference in classroom contributions based on the gender of the professor. Now, obviously, I have used the author's last name in the signal phrase in this case, so technically I do not need to use it in a parenthetical citation. However, because this is a multiple sentence paraphrase, I really want to signal to my readers when I am done paraphrasing information from this particular source and moving on to either my own words or to information from a different source. So I'm going to keep Banks in the parenthetical citation. Again, to solve this problem, all you really need to do is enter in what I had in the beginning, the article, gender bias in the classroom. That way I'm not repeating Banks and I'm not making any issues for myself. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to say about this particular paragraph that we have here is it's a decent example of the start or the basic foundation of a paragraph within a synthesis assignment. You have to remember when you're writing a synthesis paper, you want to be taking multiple sources and integrating them together. You want to synthesize those sources, as the name of the paper suggests. So you want to be offering multiple perspectives from multiple sources on the same small idea. You don't want to talk about your sources one at a time in different paragraphs, and you don't want to do the typical type of research paper where you merely use source material to back up your own arguments. Remember, the focus of a synthesis paper is to be showing how the sources connect on the overall idea, to show where they agree, where they disagree, where there are gaps in the research or areas of interest regarding your chosen topic that research has not fully commented on yet. Simply put, you have to be integrating your sources in every single paragraph, offering up multiple perspectives on the same small idea. As you revise your synthesis papers, I hope you keep all of this in mind.